Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Fay on ubnradio.com.
And welcome. You are tuned in to Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon out of the Sunset Gower Studios, Universal Broadcasting Network, radio and TV, and now every Thursday and Saturday on my syndicated CNBC News Radio channel, KCAA, AM 1050 Loma Linda. And this is a show about hope and how you can be happy 88% of the time. So there's no gossip, no scandal, no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all. Even though when I was at Veggie Grill with my girls the other day, I was asked by the cashier, have you ever been told that you look like Kris Jenner? So that's kind of ironic, but no, we do not talk about Kardashians. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show, because you only live once, YOLO, and many of you have said that you are not as happy as you can be. So that's why we have this show, we have this program, and we have lots of really interesting series the second week of every month. I do the call-in show, and I am Dr. Marissa on the second Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura. We don't do the honk honks anymore, but there used to be a honk on that. And then every last week of the month, which was last week, we have sexual healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth. So if you have not been privy to any of those fascinating episodes, you can get me on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on iTunes, on YouTube. And peace shout in and out to Ashley Ramey, who actually found me on YouTube to say thank you. And you can find me there. I'm so grateful. We are up 32,000 views from last year. So that's all thanks to you, because you're tuning in to something that matters to you. And thank you, thank you, thank you. Xie, 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 xie. That's in Mandarin. And today, it's turning out that seems like every first week of the month, I have really interesting guests who are authors and who have different kinds of life experiences that are, to some people's minds, would be difficult, but they've turned that difficulty into hope and happiness. And this week is no exception. If you've missed Nick Yaris, who was the 140th man exonerated by DNA evidence, his episode is fabulous. You can find that on YouTube, as well as Frederick from Rwanda, who got his arms cut off. Now, we don't have any limbs missing here, but my guest, Ara Imbarus, PhD, is an educator, motivational speaker, and the author of the memoir, Out of the Transylvania Night, and its sequel, Returning Home, A Journey of Finding Oneself, due early next year. She's a freelance journalist for entertainment and sports today. She has a PhD in humanities and philosophy with a distinction cum laude from the Lucian Blaga University in Romania. She's been featured in the Beverly Hills Times Magazine, Daily Breeze Torrance, Forbes Romania, the Global Woman Magazine, and has appeared on 3 Today in Las Vegas, Good Morning San Diego, News 10, ABC, and other syndicated radio programs besides mine. So please welcome to the studio, Ara Imbarus. Welcome to my show. So I have a friend. She has not an answering machine, but a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you? And what do you want?" So, who are you and what do you want?
Wow. Well, that's a nice welcoming. Thank you so much, Dr. Marissa. So,
Yes.
who am I? I am a curious person. And what do I want and where do I want to go? I just want to help as many people as possible to really understand that names and countries and religions are just labels nowadays, and we're all very much connected to each other, and those barriers are the ones that we only going to set up for ourselves.
Great. And you've lived that. You were actually born you weren't born in Romania, but you moved to Romania, correct?
I was born in Romania.
Oh,
my,
you were, okay.
my grandparents came from Greece, from Athens.
Okay.
They settled down in Romania, and I was born and raised in Romania, in Transylvania, yes, Dracula's country.
I had a lot of people say that they thought that was a made-up place. So there's an actual Transylvania in Romania.
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually a central part. It's a central region in Romania.
Okay.
And Transylvania, Transylva in Latin means beyond the forest. So it is a region that is surrounded by the Carpathian Mountains, and it's a lot of forest over there. And so I was born in Transylvania. Actually, Sibiu, the city where I'm from, Dracula's own son is buried over there. Dracula was born in Sighișoara, which is probably, like, I would say, 1 hour driving distance from the city where I was born. So it is a real place.
It is and Dracula was a real guy.
He was the governor of Transylvania, yes.
And he really sucked people's blood. Yes? No?
No, he did
No, he
not.
didn't. Okay, I knew there was a disconnect somewhere in there. He didn't. So
No.
how did he get that reputation?
Well, he was very bloody in the sense that he was very strict with his own people, but also he was the one that really barricaded and fought against the Turks. Romania was under the Turkish occupation. And then Transylvania was under the Austrian-Hungarian occupation. So Romania fought the Turks, and Dracula, Vlad Dracul, that's his real name, and Dracul means evil in Romania, well, in Romanian. And he was the one that actually was protecting his own people against the Turks. But also he was known by his own people as being very cruel, in the sense that he wanted to punish people for not being right, for not doing the right things. So he had this, fountain in the center of Transylvania, and it was a golden cup next to it, and people would just drink water using the golden cup. So one day somebody decided that he's going to go drink from the golden cup and take it home as a souvenir. He wanted to put it probably on eBay. I don't know.
Okay.
So the next day, the cup reappeared, but was followed by 2 hands that were chopped off from the owner, who decided not to share the golden cup anymore. So he's known for those cruel acts. Cruel in the sense that he was very harsh and blunt, but he is seen as a hero by the Romanians.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get behind that. So Hollywood made him into the blood-sucking.
Exactly. Well, he used to impale, the Turks, so where that's what the blood was coming from. So after impaling the Turks, right, he used to display them on the outskirts of the city, so that would deter people from coming in. And obviously, if you would see somebody, just his, bowels and, internal organs just hanging out on a stick, obviously you would think twice if you're going to come in. Yeah. So that was the whole purpose.
Well, thank you for that
Of course.
historical lesson about Dracula, that I'll never see a vampire the same way again.
You're going to see them friendlier.
I don't know. But so let's move out of Dracula into you. And you were born in that town. And what happened that you are called the modern day Anne Frank? That's a pretty big title. So what happened to you?
Well, I mean, it's a great title. I'm so in love with Anne Frank and whatever she did and whatever she stands for. I really believe that people in Romania, probably all of us to some degree, were heroes, because we lived under the communist regime for so long. And in 1989, the Romanian Revolution started. And it just happened that I was probably in the wrong spot. And I was just it was another December 21st, 1989, when I went with my parents shopping for Christmas. There was really not much to shop for anyway.
How old were you at the time?
I was 18.
18.
And I was a senior in high school. And we would shop actually for bananas and oranges. And so whatever people see here on a daily basis, I would just see bananas and oranges twice a year, once for Christmas and once for Easter. So whenever we would see them actually in stores, we knew that it is a holiday.
Okay.
So I was shopping with my parents. And
Did you know that you were in poverty growing up? Like, were you aware of that? Because did you have TV? Did you have outside influences? Like, did you know?
I knew that the whole country was living in poverty. Of course, there were 2 TV channels.
Okay.
On the first TV channel, you would see the president and his wife. And on the second TV channel, you would see his wife and the president. So it was, there were just the 2 of them. On the first channel was him and his wife. On the second one was she, Elena, and her husband. There was nothing going on. It was just about the presidency, about the communist regime. And the only outside sources, you would listen in an illegal way to BBC, to Voice of America. So it was the underground radio that you were listening to. Fortunately or unfortunately, my uncles, they crossed the borders illegally. And then we knew from, family relatives, right, that life was so different outside. I would read German newspapers because they were sending those to me. And you will be in contact with the modern world through what you would hear from others. But it was like a dream that everybody was telling you about, but you didn't really know if it's true or not.
Right. Did you want to escape like your uncle at the time?
Well, I knew since I was a child that I will not grow old in that country. So I used to tell my parents that for sure I'm going to end up somewhere where they will have an ocean line and it's going to be palm trees. And my mom said, well, we don't have an ocean line. We have the Black Sea, if you are referring to that. And we really don't have any palm trees. And she said, and the borders of the countries were closed. The phone was bugged. The newspapers were checked. The mail.
What did your parents do?
My mom was, working as a chemist for a lab.
Okay.
And my dad was actually an electrical engineer, and he was working for the Romanian Airlines for the control tower. And he decided not to become part of the communist regime. So he was not a communist member. And that took a huge toll on us because his cousins were the ones that crossed the borders illegally. And we shared the same last name, Imbarus. And the moment they ended up actually in Germany, they are going to talk against the regime, obviously, on different TV channels and radio, channels. And we were blacklisted. So,
So what does that mean when you're blacklisted by a government? Because I mean, really, we are so fortunate in this country, in this day. Like, this is a foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? So first of all, you really don't have a choice to leave whenever you want. You can't travel. You only see fruits and vegetables on holidays.
Yeah.
Your parents are professional. You go to school, but you cannot. You have dreams that you don't know are going to be fulfilled. So you live in this closed environment. Okay, now we're back to going shopping. So what happened that 1989?
Well, 2 bullets, passed me by, and
Two bullets.
Yeah.
Okay, so you hear gunshots.
Gunshots, all
You
of
drop.
a sudden. Yes. Well, obviously, I was flattened by my dad because I wasn't quite sure what's going on. And then that's when the Romanian Revolution started.
Okay.
It started earlier in another city, in Timișoara, but because we were only exposed to 2 TV channels. We didn't really know what was going on. We would only hear it was the word of mouth that something is happening, that it's an uprising going on.
Okay.
And
And who's uprising?
Well,
I need a history lesson here.
The people actually from Romania, they decided that it was more than enough to deal with the communist regime.
Okay, so
Yes.
and then just to clarify, when you were blackballed, what did that mean? So before the revolution happened,
Well, what happened, we were already, scrutinized. The whole country was scrutinized, by the regime. But in this particular case, when my uncles, crossed the borders illegally, obviously, whatever we would receive from them, so there were, packages, gifts that, supposedly they would send, but
Right.
we will never get them.
Okay.
Because that was the contact
Okay,
with the
got it.
outside world.
Got it.
Then the phone was bugged.
Right.
So they would call and we would say, "Hi, how are you?" And that was boom, cut.
Yeah. So
yeah.
you knew you were being watched.
My dad was, taken from our house once or twice a week, and he was being interviewed, and we never really knew if he's ever going to come back. He would be picked up in the middle of the night. There was this, black car with, 4 guys that would come and pick him up in the middle of the night, and we would see him probably, if we're lucky, like in 2 days or so, and he never really talked to us. What has
He
happened?
wouldn't talk.
No, because
Did he come back beat up?
No, he's a strong cookie, and he's somebody that did not want to become part of the communist regime. He did not sign up for that party. I mean,
Right.
that
I'm
party.
surprised that they let him go.
Well, he was working for the control tower.
I'm glad.
Oh, totally. I know.
I'm glad.
Trust
Let me
me.
just
Trust
clarify
me.
that. And if you've just tuned in and you're wondering who I am talking to today, you are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And we have a guest today who is actually from the land of Dracula, from Transylvania in Romania, telling us the true story of her upbringing and behind iron curtain. And now we're at the point of bullets and the revolution. So
Correct.
continue.
So then pretty much, we are going to retrace, home, our steps back home, and we are going to barricade ourselves. And pretty much the very first part of my book, Out of the Transylvania Night, talks in details about what has happened during those, 5 days and what people were doing. We were lucky enough, the country was lucky enough that the army actually sided with the people. So we're the people of Romania with the army fighting, Ceausescu's regime and his SWAT teams, Securitate they were called. So I think we were the only country that literally shot the president and his wife on national television. Talking about being bloody Dracula, right? No, there you go. There's the connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you hid for 5 days and were afraid to come out. Your
We
mom.
we were in the streets actually marching and just being part of the Romanian Revolution.
Okay. So you were okay.
Yeah.
So where did the hiding come in?
Well, obviously, right when it started, December 21st, that's when we came home. We didn't really know what was going on. Our uncles, from Germany were trying to reach out to us to actually tell us because they were seeing on television, like
What was the
all the
uprising?
international televisions were broadcasting, but we didn't really have any contact with the outside world. So we didn't really know. I mean, the only way we could communicate, it was the word of mouth.
Right.
So they were calling us to tell us exactly what was happening, but we didn't really know. So everybody was out in the streets, just marching against, Ceausescu. People started screaming, bullets were being, fired. It was just mess, chaos,
Were you the only child?
I am the only
You are
child.
the only
Yeah.
child. Okay.
Yes.
So then the president gets shot on
Yes.
national TV and the people take over.
Yes.
Then what happened?
Well, that's going to be explained in my second part of the book. Actually, it was a new democratic regime is going to be installed. And obviously, we always say that democracy, it's, very hard, fought for, which is true. But I think very many times we don't really realize what democracy is. It's like people have been telling you, what the strawberry is, and you would love to taste it, but you have no idea what the strawberry is all about and if you're going to be allergic to strawberries or not. And so in this case, pretty much democracy was, just a label. It was just a word that people thought that they will acquire overnight, and that didn't really happen. I mean, in 1997, I came to the United States, and for all those 7 years, 1990 to 1997, I thought that I really understand the meaning of democracy, because Romania was struggling to, all of a sudden, let's say, to approach a new era, approach a new vision.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even know what is to be a free country, because we haven't had that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely the changes from communism and the coming down of the wall. There's an assumption that people understand what the privileges are or what the changes are, and absolutely, it's an interesting thought. So, how did you get here to the land of palm trees?
Not
7
here on
years.
Gower Studios, right?
No, I know that.
Yeah. There is what it's called diversity visa. So it's a green card lottery that was started by George Bush father, and it's pretty much giving people the chance to come to the United States in a legal way. And I applied in 96 for 97. There were 12 million applicants from all over, the world who applied, and I was one out of the 55,000 that was chosen to come to the United States.
So why do you think that was?
Because of my vision. No.
No. Well, I mean that's part of it. You saw palm
agree.
trees. You saw palm trees. But seriously, I mean, who are you, and what do you want? I mean, it's always. I'm a big believer that everything happens in this friendly universe for a purpose, and every one of the 7.3 billion of us have a unique talent, gift, and ability. You obviously have one that required all of the traumatic things that happened to you, which weren't. You say it very calm and collected right now, but at the time, I'm sure it was not
very different.
Yes. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
Take a breath on that one. In all those times that you didn't feel very safe, and that you didn't feel very safe. Yeah. That's not easy. Okay.
It was a cold environment, but the only warmth that I found was in the midst of my own family.
Yeah. That definitely sounds like you chose to come into a very loving family, very strong, loving, supportive family.
Very much so.
Are they here?
No, actually, my dad still lives in Romania, and
so only you got out.
Yes.
Oh wow! Can you see him?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Now it's democratic regime. I actually talk to my dad every day at between 7:00 in the morning and 7:15. Everybody knows that I'm on the phone with him, and this has been since 1997. Unfortunately, my mother passed away January 1st, 2009, and she passed away of cancer. But she knew that she is going to die of cancer at the age of 61, which is very interesting because somehow, like you said, we do believe that we choose, we make those choices before we come into this world, what kind of a country or what kind of a family we're going to belong to, and there is a lesson to be learned. And many times when we're in tune with the universe, we can totally reach out to the other side and really realize that there is a mission, and we can kind of like come to understand what our mission is. And my mom knew that she's going to leave this world, because of cancer at the age of 61. So when I wrote this book, the book was actually dedicated to her, and
What's her name?
Rika.
Arika. Yeah.
Rika.
Yeah. She's over there with my dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
so nice.
I think they're meeting right now.
They are right now, the way we are right now here in the studio.
Exactly. Beautiful. So you come here, and then why write this book? Why, what was the impetus to do that?
Well, I always knew that I'm going to write a book about my family because they've suffered a lot, and a lot was taken from them during the communist regime. My grandpa was the director of the National Bank in Romania, and they came from a very rich family, Greeks, and they had lands and houses, and everything was taken away from them by the communist regime. And what has happened, I mean, to my whole family, Imbarus family. And I knew there was a certain message there that I wanted to just, give it to the world. People can literally survive under, the hardest conditions. And they can, if you really believe that you will go out, you will get out of that situation. If you believe that you will stay strong, you will be strong. Because I think that it's also a matter of belief. Whatever you believe in, you will become.
Yes, absolutely. I'm 100,000% behind you on that. And actually, we have something in common that I didn't make the connection until just now. My father's family was actually very wealthy in China. And first the Japanese came and took everything away in the occupation. And then after they got everything back, the communists came and took everything away. And they had 61 deeds of property. And my family got one back. Those who know my last name, it's Pei. And yes, my father's the cousin of the very famous architect I.M. Pei, who's brilliant. Hi, Uncle. My father's family is known in Suzhou because they built this summer home called Siziling, which is the Lion Forest Garden. And it's interesting, when I went on a lecture tour in 2010, there's a plaque that says, the Pei family kindly donated this property to the Chinese government. Yes. But the strength, you saw the vision, you saw the palm trees, you knew that you were gonna come and that you knew you had a purpose. Now what are you doing now besides writing books?
Or having interviews with Yeah, I had a vision when I was a small child that I'm going to become an educator. And so I'm teaching high school in the morning. I'm teaching for West High in Torrance Unified School District. And I'm teaching philosophy and world humanities and American literature.
Perfect.
And at nighttime, I'm teaching for El Camino College and LA Harbor College. And I'm teaching, creative writing and advanced critical thinking. So I'm surrounded by kids. I always wanted to do that. And I always wanted to inspire the new generation. And actually, it's about motivating them, because many times people would come to me with the ingrained idea that, well, I don't really know how to write. And I said, that's wrong. I really believe that you can change that belief. Because you can if you want to. And so it's really coming down to you. So I think that besides just, teaching, how to write, it's, teach them how to believe in themselves. And I've seen this since I was a child.
Yes. So what would you say to yourself when you were afraid? In those moments growing up where you felt watching your dad being taken off in a car with 4 men not knowing, what would you say to yourself that made the difference?
Many times I would see myself from above. So I had always these visions that it was whatever was happening is just a phase in our lives. It's not our life. And I started reading books that were totally, forbidden by the government. But, again, it's the black market, psychology-based books. And
like?
Well, it was Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. And it so happened that I trained with him in past life regression therapy and with Dr. Juanita Holmes, that also is here, on Gower Studios. And then I was a huge believer and a huge follower of, Wayne Dyer, that unfortunately, he passed away this Sunday. And Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton.
I was just, he's coming on the show. And I actually saw him, was so blessed to see him a couple weeks ago. Unbelievable. Because the week before I had done a call-in show and we were talking about the connection between mind, body, and then to have him verify it scientifically, that was truly mind-blowing to me. Do. I just love when that happens. Yeah. So you knew. I knew at a cellular level. And
that was not me, and whatever was happening to us was just a phase.
Right.
My very first vision was when I was 7 years old and I went to school, and people would walk to school by themselves. I mean, parents were not necessarily changing their whole schedule, to come and pick you up and drop you off. It was in a very unsafe environment was still safe. So you didn't really have people disappearing, from the streets.
Right.
So I would walk with other kids to school, and I remember it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and my grandpa passed away, and I felt this huge pain in my chest, and I couldn't breathe for couple of seconds, and I started crying, and I remember the teacher said, "Are you okay? Do you want me, to just, escort you to the nurse, and what's going on with you?" And I was like, "No, I think I'm fine." And I came home, and my mom was in tears. She opened up the door, and I said, "I know exactly what has happened. My grandpa passed away at 9 o'clock in the morning." And so the whole family, they always knew that I was weird in a sense. I was just different.
Yeah.
But she said, "How do you know?" And I said, "I saw him." And they didn't really believe this, visions of mine until I was in high school. And it was an entrance exam, in the high school. I majored in chemistry, physics, and math. So it was not even foreign languages or philosophy. And I passed the entrance exam. But before, I had a vision of what exactly it's going to be on the exam.
Oh, cool.
I know.
That's
And
great. We're going to have to take a quick break, and we'll come back with the rest of that story. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. We'll be back after we hear from our fabulous sponsors who make this show possible. We'll be back in 2. Peace in and peace out. Look and feel tired? Do you want to look younger than you are? Do you want a youthful glow at any age? Then you're in for a treat. Stem cell research formulated by a Beverly Hills doctor has been scientifically proven to stop the aging process. For more information on this miraculous product, call 310-625-8097. That's 310-625-8097, or go to www.proyouthinT.jeuneuseglobal.com. That's proyouthinT.jeunesse global.com. And tell them Dr. Marissa sent you. Come and fall into fun. Celebrate the beautiful colors of autumn with unique Timeless Treasures boutiques. From jewelry, clothing, and accessories to Halloween goodies, it's family fun for everyone, including story time and a crafts table for kids of all ages. Gourmet food sampling, free parking, and free admission are even more reasons to come to Huntington Beach September 17th to the 20th, and Lakewood, California, September 23rd to the 26th. Mention Dr. Marissa for a free gift. For more information, go to www.timelesstreasuresboutiques.com. That's timelesstreasuresboutiques.com for fun, frolic, and artisan adventure. And we are back. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon. And then if you are just tuning in and you missed the front part of the show, you can tune in on Thursday and Saturday on my syndicated CNBC News radio station, KCAA, AM 1050. And we are talking about knowing, actually. We're talking about visions in a non-doo-doo way, but with author of Out of the Transylvania Night, Ora Imbarus, who came out of communist Romania as a 18-year-old. You were 18 when the revolution happened, then you came out shortly after that.
I was, 25 when I came here.
Right. And so I thought this would be a really good time for, and I know I have a really wide spectrum of listeners. I have lots of, obviously because of Agape, I've got spiritual listeners. I've got business listeners because of my work consulting in business psychology. I have all across the spectrum of BS, belief systems about life and what life is. And what you've alluded to is that if we see ourselves as victims of circumstances, then life can become very difficult, and life can look like bondage or an absence of freedom. No matter where you are, you can live in America where you have freedom and still feel like you are, you're not able to be happy. You're
Correct.
not able to be free. You're not able to enjoy the democracy that we have.
Right.
So you mentioned that if we believe that this thing called life is just not, that's my new hashtag, by the way, on Instagram. If this thing called life is truly an extension of something else, okay, where your mom is right now, where my dad is right now. I had this discussion last night with one of my surrogate moms, and who my surrogate dad passed 3 years ago, Dr. Carl McCraven, and that feeling of loss or the grief that we feel when people are away. If we don't believe that that this life is just a part of,
Right.
it's not all
Correct.
that there is, then yeah, it becomes difficult. So your belief system supports the energy and the joie de vivre en français,
En français,
for your joy of life, for those who don't. Did that come, were you raised that way? How did that come about?
Well, my dad is a very happy person, considering the circumstances. And, he's been a huge motivator in my life. I mean, he would always say that I can be the best if I want to be the best. And so my grandma, she survived 2 world wars and the Romanian Revolution. And she was exercising, and she until the last day. I mean, she literally passed away at the age of 92. And she raised all her siblings by herself. And so I came from very
Stock.
Exactly.
How old is your dad now?
My dad is 74.
74. He has no desire to come over here?
No, he said that pretty much home, it's where you belong. And so
And he feels
belonging to him, it's Romania.
Is he doing work with the government now? He doesn't want to? No.
Not at all. He still has inventions. I mean, he's just a bright mind, and he's constantly doing all kinds of inventions, comes up with new ideas about how to transform things. And I mean, he's just, a very, very interesting guy. And my mom was a very easygoing person, and they were the perfect match, for 44 years.
Beautiful. He's not dating. Doesn't want to date.
Well, no, he said that, the heart and the soul are always going to belong to my mother. And he said that his body is available.
I love it. He is. I need to have a conversation with that man.
definitely.
He sounds like we need to get him on the air. He sounds like a character. Absolutely is a character. Yeah. So what do you think is what advice would you give? You've lived in another country where there was no freedom. You watch and you teach our young here and our older here. What's the one thing or the 3 things, or what do you think needs to change for people in this country to feel better, to be happier 88% of the time?
Well, I call it the missing tile syndrome. You are going to come in a room, and pretty much there is one single tile that it's missing, from the floor. And so instead of focusing on whatever it is, you're going to focus on what it's not.
Yes.
And that's where the problem is, or the issue. I don't even know if it's a problem. It's just a matter of perception.
Yes.
And out of your perception, you're going to form your belief. And out of your belief, you're going to become. So the moment you're going to change your perception, everything, the whole world is going to change.
I agree. 100,000%. I like using the example from Esther Hicks, or actually from Jerry and Abraham, where you live in a beautiful city.
Yeah.
The city is absolutely beautiful. Everything about it is beautiful. Your neighbors everything is beautiful except for one street in this city has a pothole. Just one street.
Yeah.
And where do you go? You keep driving up and down that street and complaining about the pothole when everything else, and I think this is a perfect segue to express sincere appreciation to one of my favorite teachers, and that is Dr. Wayne Dyer. Because the one thing that he taught me that I still do to this day is he admonishes lovingly everyone to be grateful the first thing in the morning for 5 things. And he taught me that years ago, and I've done that, except that I'm a recovering overachiever. So I say 8 things because 8's a lucky number in Chinese. So in honor of one of the greatest teachers,
Thank you
I
so
think,
much,
in
yeah.
our time,
I agree.
Dr. Wayne Dyer, if all of my listeners, whether you're listening to this live or later on this week or next year, please, from this day forward, can you wake up in the morning and give thanks for 5 things in your life? People, places, or things, it doesn't matter. Try to make it as specific as possible. I do this with my clients. 21 days it takes to make a good habit. I learned that from him too, or to break a bad habit. Your life will change just with that one exercise in the morning.
Correct.
Yeah. So
And thank you for bringing, up Dr. Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been such an inspiration to the whole world.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's a good friend, actually, of my big brother, my one of my other
Michael.
favorite teachers, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith.
Michael, yes.
So yes. So how do we find this book? How do we get this book? Read it, buy it?
Out of the Transylvania Night is actually on Amazon, and it's on Barnes and Nobles.
Okay.
And then just stay tuned for its sequel that it's going to come out, in March 2016, and it's going to be called Returning Home, A Journey of Finding Oneself.
A couple things. Nadia Comaneci actually has a little quote on the front of the book. Or as courage shows the degree to which we are all willing to live lives centered on freedom, hope, and an authentic sense of self. Truly a love story.
Yeah.
Is she still living in Romania?
No, she's actually in the United States, and
she?
she is married to Bar Connor, the gymnast, and they have an amazing gymnastics school. But she does have a home in Venice, so she comes here pretty often.
Well,
and
then can you invite her on the show?
we can
I
totally
would
do that.
Love to
Yes.
have her on the show.
we can totally
Watched
do
her
that.
and was very inspired by her when I was young. Yeah, that would be
I grew
awesome.
up with gymnastics, and unfortunately, I didn't really make it in that department.
Yeah, well, you had other things to do.
Yes.
You definitely did. So, what keeps you from going back? I'm sure there was a decision with your father there. You're here. You don't.
Romania is it's an amazing country, and I would definitely, express my gratitude to my, cradle. Definitely Transylvania, it's a place to visit, and Sibiu, my native town, I'm just very proud of Sibiu. Sibiu was cultural capital of Europe in 2007, so there are many things to see, and has been actually labeled as the 8th most idyllic place to live in by Forbes.
Wow. Why? Why?
Wow,
Curious.
because it's Gothic architecture and Baroque and Renaissance, and besides the architecture, you have literally a show. Tons of shows. You have the International Jazz Festival. You have medieval festivals.
International Jazz Festival?
Yes.
Oh, I think that's calling my name. I got
can
to go
totally-
backstage.
I can totally put you in contact. Actually, my ex-husband, Michael, that's how we've met. He was the producer of the International Jazz Festival in Romania.
Wow.
And I interview him, and obviously I did a very great job of interviewing him. That we married later on, and even if we are divorced, I mean, he is still in my life, and I love him dearly. And I think that he's always going to be in my life because I believe that we have more than one soulmate, and it's a
Absolutely.
matter of finding those people that we, connect with, and
Yeah.
that's a soul family.
You met him here?
I met him actually in Romania, and
met
I
him in
came
where?
with him.
Oh, so wait. So you you interviewed him as a journalist
Yes, as a
about
journalist.
the International Jazz Festival.
Correct.
And he's an American.
Yeah, he is Romanian.
He's Romanian.
We grew up in the same country. His dad actually was a very big shot in the communist regime. He was a professor.
Oh.
But, he was demoted because he didn't really agree with Ceausescu's way of running things.
Okay.
And he had 2 PhDs. His dad, one in economics and the other one in political studies. And the moment he started speaking against the regime, the regime, Ceausescu decided actually to literally take away his life credential. And he demolished him, and literally sent him to Sibiu, where I was born and I grew up. And that's how I've met Michael. Michael grew up in Bucharest and, dad was in Bucharest, also working for the regime.
He got condemned to you. in the nicest way.
I know.
In the nicest way.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's
and
great.
Yeah, I interviewed him, he was a producer of the International Jazz Festival. That's hilarious. And
Sorry.
oh my God, that's hilarious.
She told me in an email that I was a handful. So she totally, she hasn't even met me. And she called me on a ham. I'm like, who is this, my mother? So I just got you back on the air.
Well, my dear one, like attracts like.
Yeah,
So welcome
I got
to
that.
our club.
I got that. We were, yeah. Jarvis was like, they're
Yeah.
from the same tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
great. I had just got the signal. So I would like to thank you so much
Thank
for
you
coming
for
on
having
the
me.
air and sharing your very fascinating story with my listeners. And I wish you the best and go out and get. And actually, the Asian Oprah giveaway today is a copy of your book. So the first person to go on my Facebook and message me and say, I would like a copy, Dr. Marissa, of Aura's book will be the first one to get it. So we'll see.
Definitely.
Yes. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Marissa. Thank
And I know you have a plethora of friends on Facebook. Hi to all the friends on Facebook that have been writing in Romanian comments. I was doing Google Translate. What is it? What are they saying? But anyways, it is that time of the episode when I invite you to come to my balance bar, where we talk about what's going on. Today, September 1st, is round 51 of the 21-day fast from complaining with Dr. Marissa. If you don't know about this, where have you been? I have been doing this for 51 months in a row. I was inspired by another one of my great teachers, Edwin Gaines, who came to the Agape International Spiritual Center and said that if you cannot complain for 21 days in a row, you will get to spiritual transcendence. And all I need is a challenge. So I'm not even going to tell you how many rounds that I've actually made it through to 21 days because that would ruin it. But here's the hint. The name of my show is Take My Advice. I'm not using it. But 3 people actually have registered on forbalance.org to sign up for the fast officially. And then if you do 21 days in a row, you receive a free pack of my motivational cards, 52 card pick-me-ups, Stacking the Deck for Life Balance with Dr. Marissa. And those correspond, the 52, I pulled out 21 to be balance tips for every day of the fast. So please friend me on Facebook or link to me on LinkedIn. And that way you'll get a balance tip every first thing in the morning that will help keep you from complaining. Today's balance tip is, well, it's actually a question. How much do you complain anyways? Day 1 is the easiest day of the fast because no matter how many times you complain, you start over at day 1. It's always day 1 all day. So today is a baseline day. So when you complain, just sort of keep track of how many times you're complaining, and then you'll know that tomorrow's tip is going to be never miss an opportunity to keep your mouth shut. That just gave away tomorrow's tip. But please do join me because we really do want to stop this complaining habit. It's like an American pastime for us, it seems like. Can't go anywhere without hearing complaining. So 21-day fast from complaining, sign up on my website, forbalance.org. And another thing that's going on, a shout out to all of my fabulous peeps that I met at the Raj Rhythm and Joy Festival. I went to the Valley and sang with my incredible Agape International Spiritual Center choir. All 200 of us were on stage in 105-degree weather. Yes, it is true. There are three things in life I don't understand: vandalism, terrorism, and why people live in the valley. But it was a fun time. There were great people there. I'm really glad that we got to perform there. And shout out to all my choir peeps, my Agape Love Burrito friends. And what else are we? Oh, yes. If you would like to support any of the associations that I do work in because of valuing diversity, my Asian woman entrepreneurs, I'm going to be emceeing for them at the Anaheim White House. Another guest of mine, Bruno Serrato, was CNN Hero of the Year. He's fabulous. Go visit his wonderful restaurant. I'll be speaking at the Beverly Hilton for the Asian Enterprise, and then for Edison, their Chinese group. Please visit For Balance to get any details of any of these events. And if you'd like to come to the beach to work with me so you can be happier 88% of the time, just let me know. That's it for this week. Next week it is Call In Tuesday with Dr. Marissa, the kinder, gentler Dr. Laura on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa Pay. That's P for positive, EI. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Before the dawn, for I am weak and He is strong. He lifts me up so I can see how dark